Good morning, friends. Today I'll be making what I'm calling the Chinese fan for you in the 6x10 version. So what you will need is you will need 2 pieces of exterior fabric. You'll need a piece of fabric for the applique, the fan itself. You'll need some material for the interior lining, and you'll need some batting of whatever sort you want. I'm just using some recycled pieces here as my batting, and I've cut these pieces 7x11 to work for the 6x10 hoop size, and I've already done my placement stitches, and now I'm ready to put the zipper on. Be right back. Okay, I have taped my zipper down in 3 places, and I'm going to stitch this down, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have stitched my zipper now between the placement lines, and I'm going to, at this point, put the front and back pieces, the front exterior piece and the first lining piece on. So I'll be right back. And apparently I need more coffee, because I didn't tell you that you should place your zipper coil between the 2 lines that are stitched down in step as part of the first step. You should, and it's a very narrow area, so you must be careful when you're taping it down. But like I say, you place the coil itself, the plastic part, in between these 2 lines, just to clarify. So let me continue with putting the fabric on the hoop now. Be right back. Okay, I'm here at the cutting table, which is so filled with everything that it's impossible to cut on, but I'm going to take the piece of lining fabric, which I'm just using this as lining, and I'm going to take and put this face down, and I'm going to put it face down right below this bottom line right here. So let me do that very carefully, and all right. And I'm going to tape that with several pieces of tape. All right, then I'm going to just, I'm on the back side of the hoop, obviously. This is a lining fabric. I'm going to let it just fall over like that to the front of the hoop. And I'm going to take this piece of fabric and fold it over several times and tape it down. Well, here, tape it down here so it will be out of the way. Okay, and it's going to stay there until one of the later steps, and I'll tell you when to fold it down and over the back. But for now it stays there, and I'm going to do the same thing with the front piece of the main fabric. I'm going to put it right below the zipper, maybe 1/4 inch or so, and I'm going to tape it down. And then I'm going to go to the machine, and the next step will tack down these 2 pieces of fabric. So let's do that. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and as you can see, this the tack down of the pieces has been completed. You can see right here. And now I'm going to take a piece of whatever batting you need to choose. You need to take it and place it right below the zipper. And I think I originally told you I had cut the pieces 7x11. This particular piece I cut about 6 by 11. I cut an inch off of it so it will stay nicely here in the hoop and not overhang. So you take your main piece of fabric and fold it over, smooth it out, and then take it to the iron. I always do this. I take it to the iron and I'll iron it down just to make sure we have a nice crease along here. I think it looks better. So I'll be back in a few moments. Okay, I have ironed this down so that it has a nice crease and placed it back in the machine, and I'm going to run step 4 now, which is going to do a basically all around the exterior below the zipper, just to kind of hold things down before we start our applique process and the very beautiful quilting, intricate quilting. So I'm going to run that step 4, and I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, it has completed step 4 and tacked down the fabric and the main fabric on the front and the batting, what I'm using for batting. And so the next thing I'm going to do is run step 5, which will start the applique process with the placement lines. So I'll be back in a moment. All right, step 5 is completed, and it has put the placement lines for the applique, the fan itself. So I'm going to take my applique fabric, which is really not fabric, it's a piece of purple faux vinyl, and I'm going to make sure I've covered the fan, and I'm going to reattach the hoop, and I'm going to go into my settings here on this is a Baby Lock Solaris, but I'm going to go into my settings and adjust the embroidery foot height because it looks like it's going to be pretty tight under there. So I'm going to do that, and now I'm going to start and run this next step, which is step 6, which will tack down the piece of vinyl for the applique. All right, step 6 completed, which has tacked down the vinyl, and I'm going to take it to my kitchen counter and cut the exterior of the piece of vinyl around the fan itself, right along the line here. And so make sure you use a very sharp embroidery or applique pair of scissors, because you want to cut very closely. So let me do that, and I'll be back momentarily. Okay, I'm back, and I've trimmed the excess vinyl, and I'm going to put it back in the machine and start on the actual satin stitch, which will take a good while. I save these scraps of vinyl if they're big enough, because I use those to make my connectors for my crossbody straps, which go along here at the top of the zipper. So you might want to put that aside, save it for something else for some other time. But let me start this, and this will probably take about, I don't know, 15 minutes for it to do this, because it's a very thick, beautiful satin stitch. So I will join you back in a few moments. All right, I've now completed the satin stitching, and that was step 7. We're going to step 8, and it will place the little lines here that make it look like a fan, little creases, or looks like creases. So let me do that, and I'll come back in just a few moments. Okay, the quilting is finished. I don't know if I needed to do it here on this fabric, since the fabric is so pretty anyhow, but I did it. You can ignore it or just skip to the next step if you don't like the quilting. And of course, at some point the back fabric came loose, but it wasn't caught under, thank goodness, or it would have been a mess. So now I'm going to take the hoop, going to the 10th color stop. I'm going to take the hoop off the machine and take it somewhere where I can take this back the lining piece here and tape it down, because next that stitching will go and stitch the back lining down. So I'll be right back. Okay, the stitching going around the exterior here below the zipper has concluded, so the back piece of lining is attached at this point. Now I'm going to take and remove this tape. Maybe. Oh, come on. Okay. And I'm going to take the other exterior piece and place it right side down on top here, and on top of that I'll also place the other piece of batting. So let me grab that and I'll be right back. So I've got the other two pieces that I was just referring to, and also before I forget it, I'm going to open this zipper about 3/4 of the way, maybe, with one hand. Okay. All right, so I take this is the exterior for the back side of the bag. I'm going to place it on top, covering the entire design, going a bit above the top of the zipper, as you can see, and then I'm going to place this, what I'm using as batting, on top of that, smooth it out, and then I'm going to take it back to the sewing machine, and this is going to be sewn down, and I'll be back in a minute. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. I forgot to put my attachments on for the cross body bag with the straps, so let me do that, and then after I get those attached, I will cover this back up with the two pieces, the exterior fabric and the batting, and then take it back to the sewing machine and continue. So I'll be right back. And so before I resume back at the machine, I just wanted to show you that I have used this line here, the stitch line, to put the metal piece, this top part of the metal piece, basically along this stitch line here. I've tacked this down, or I taped it down, and I've taped it here at the top on both sides. And for these little pieces of vinyl or cloth, whatever you're using, or grosgrain ribbon, I cut these at 3 inches long and 3/4 inches wide. And as you can see, I had stapled them together so they don't come apart while stitching. Anyhow, I think finally I'm going to go to the sewing machine and do the next step. Okay, I have tacked those pieces down, and now I'm going to turn it over for the final step. Turn the hoop over to the back side and place the other piece of lining over the entire design. Let me see, making sure it covers the zipper, and it does. And I'm going to tape it down and take it to the machine so it'll be sewn down, and then the sewing will be completed. Be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I have now sewn down the last piece of the interior lining on the back side of the hoop, face down. It is all done. The sewing is completed, and now I'm going to take it out of the hoop, and I always cut from the back side here. I'm going to trim this about 1/4 inch from the stitch line, which there's just about 1/4 inch left up here, so I won't be cutting off much there. But here on the sides and at the bottom, I'm going to leave, this is where the opening is, so you can see there's an opening, a nice generous opening to make it easy. And so let me do the trimming, and I'll show you what it looks like after the trimming. Be right back. One other quick remark before I turn the bag is that you can see I've trimmed it all around, and here are the lining pieces, which we do not want to. You see I've cut them and left extra for them to be turned inside. But this remaining material and such needs to be cut off, and I'm going to cut it right above the seam line across here before I do anything else. So be right back. Okay, I have trimmed that bulk away, so now we just have the two pieces of the interior lining, and I'm going to turn the bag through this opening area here. So just 1 second. Okay, I've turned the bag where the lining pieces are now on the exterior, and I'm going to, before I do anything, I'm going to go up here and remove the what I use paper towels as my stabilizer. I'm going to remove this right along here. You can usually do it with your fingernail instead of having to use a seam ripper or scissors, because I can't tell you how many times I've cut my zipper using a seam ripper and ruined the bag. So that's why I like the paper towels. Nothing gets destroyed. So let me remove that, and then I'm going to take and fold these pieces inward, both pieces. Fold these inward, and after that I will sew right along here to close the bottom of the bag. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, now you can see where I have sewn the bottom together. It's all closed up, and I'm going to turn the bag through the zipper, and I'll show you what the bag looks like in just a moment. Okay, the Chinese fan purse is now completed. I think it looks just beautiful. You could take and leave out this my little stitching here in the center and put a monogram or put something else in there if you wanted to. You could leave off all this quilting if you wanted to, but actually, now that I see it, I think it looks great. So I hope you've learned something from this video, and I appreciate you looking, and I'll be back soon. Thank you.